Welcome to the Fantasy Wire HQ Quickcast. We're a proud member of the Full-Time Fantasy Network. Check them out online, fulltimefantasy.com. Thanks for jumping on today. I'm your host, Frank B. You can follow me on Twitter at FantasyWireHQ. Check out and bookmark the website, FantasyWireHQ.com. I appreciate you listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're currently listening to the podcast, your platform of choice. I'd appreciate it. Any questions, comments, reviews, bang them out. Be more than happy to check them out. But today on the Quickcast, we're going to talk about the NFL Draft, and I want to just kind of profile quickly two teams, my hometown Baltimore Ravens, my current city Green Bay Packers, and just kind of look at it from a fan perspective for the draft coming up this week and just what I'm looking for from a fan perspective. I'm not going to break down a bunch of tape, a bunch of stats, a bunch of measurables, and go draft nerd because I'm not that good. But I do want to look at the team-specific stuff that is important to me and what I'm looking for. So let's check it out here. The Ravens, obviously, I'm looking at their 10-year first-round draft history. Marquise Brown, Hayden Hurst, Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, Brashad Perriman, C.J. Mosley, Matt Elam. 2012, there was no first rounder. Jimmy Smith. In 2010, there was no first rounder. Pretty damn good history there, in my opinion. Every team is going to have busts, so I don't care. You can laugh at all of these, Elams and Perriman picks, but that's a pretty damn good record for first rounders. So with Ozzie at the helm for years and years and years and years and years. Ozzie kills the draft. He is the epitome of drafting Ravens players. Eric DeCosta comes in, takes the reins, and I think he's killing it as well as far as just masterminding, running, just winning the draft, right? I mean, look at the picks, trading, flipping, moving. He's killing it. I love it. As a fan, it's nice to see a GM that's aggressive, that will do the right thing, doesn't overreach maybe. I mean, there's hits and misses in every draft. Every team has a whiff on a player. That's never going to change. But for the Ravens here, off-season priorities, to me, I'm looking at wide receiver, obviously. We all know that. Guard, we need to build the trenches. Cornerback, I was looking at cornerback. I know a lot of people say, what do you corner? You got Peters and Humphrey, but behind them, I think you need some depth, right? Brandon Carr is going to be, 34 this spring. Do they retain him? It's hard to say, but the corners, I need some more depth there to feel better about the backfield. Linebackers, obviously, that's another big spot too. I think wide receiver, linebacker would be my two major priorities. And then when you're looking in the draft, the wide receiver, obviously, we all know how deep that class is. If DeCosta trades back, fine. I think you can score some other players that make you go, whoa, I didn't hear about that guy. But then maybe when you look at him, he's a gem. He turns into something really nice that fits the team. But the team is not going to change from running the ball and the designed offense that we saw last year to all of a sudden be in this video game, 50 points a game, throwing 50 passes a game, right? Offensively, that's just not going to happen. The identity is the run game, the ground and pound, and I like it. It takes me back to those old Jamal Lewis days when it was just I form, bang up the middle, right? Those are the games you win in the trenches. Those are the games where you wear that opponent out, and by fourth quarter, they're done, right? The Ravens have got that almost, I'm going to dare to say it, almost that old defense, that 2000 defense where Ray Lewis would say, go ahead and score 10 points. You're done after that. There's no way you're going past. If we hold the offense to, what did he used to say, 14 or 10 or something, they're winning the game. It's almost feeling like that again because that line is stout with the addition of Campbell. If we can get some pass rush, Wink is ultra creative. If you land a linebacker like Queen, Judon, I think they've got enough up front, even kind of like the old Giants Super Bowl teams where the trenches are where the pressure is generated from. Get the pressure with 4, drop the rest, that's how you wreak havoc on an opposing offense. So if the Ravens can get into that and really dominate defensively in the trenches, man, the sky is the limit. I'm loving it. So I think for the draft, I want to see a receiver. I want to see some guards for the offensive line. Build the trench. We got to protect the franchise in Lamar Jackson. And linebacker, get some depth at corner. And I think that would be a home run draft. We'll have to see what Eric DeCosta does as far as trading back, moving around, because I think this year the option to do that is a lot more comfortable. You can really fall back to a good landing spot for as deep as the wide receiver class is, like I said. And then offensively, guards and tackles, there's going to be a run on them. I think it may come early. It's hard to say, but I think you've got some spots you can move into or out of to go get the guys you want to get in this draft. I think this draft is going to be really exciting. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Let's jump over to the Packers here. Similar to the Ravens, the Packers have Brian Gutekunst running the show, no longer Ted Thompson. And kind of similar outlooks. Both are aggressive. Both will move around. They'll do their part in the draft. I do like the identity that the Packers are building offensively and defensively. You can slowly see it coming together. And if you look at the 10-year history for the Packers' first-round picks, you got Rashawn Gary this past year, Darnell Savage, Jaire Alexander, 2017, no first-rounder. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, 2016. You had Demarius Randall, Clinton Dix.
Ooh, here we go.
No, we're not going to talk about him and Amos and Bears, and he's in Dallas now. Dayton Jones, 2013. Nick Perry, Derek Sherrod, and Brian Balaga, Iowa, there in 2010. Similar to the Ravens, not bad at all. Very good first-round history there. Obviously, always a couple duds and whiffs, but that's a hell of a record there, I think. Packers priorities, wide receiver, obviously. Man, Packers, remember the days of the 5 wide, the pick your poison? Damn, those were the glory days, right? And at the time, who really appreciated the receivers? Remember Jennings, Jones, Driver, Ruvel Martin? And we were like, yeah, we got some good receivers. We're deep, but we need more. We're better. Man, what would you do for that squad again, right? I think the Packers, if they could land a nice receiver here in the draft, pair him up with Adams, I would hope Lazard can build on last season and really take it to the next level. He's got the size, the frame. I like what he did. He seemed like he was pretty clutch. If you earn the respect of Aaron Rodgers, you're going to elevate in the offense. We know that. We've seen that long enough since Aaron Rodgers has been here. Devin Funchess, I'm interested to see what he's going to do. Another big body guy, red zone fades, stuff like that. They could design some stuff for him, but a young wide receiver rookie to come in and play. If you think of Deebo Samuel and what he did for the Niners, designing plays up for him, playing him out of the slot, moving him around, just like a chess piece on the field. He had a monster. If you can get a receiver like him, he could have a monster year with Rodgers and really change up this offense. You know, you can't let a defense just focus and bracket the hell out of Adams when they don't have a tight end to worry about, they don't have a second to worry about, and they don't have a slot to worry about. There's got to be some threat option there. Linebacker, Packers need some linebacker help in a big way. Offensive tackle, Balaga's out. Got Ricky Wagner in. Word on Wagner, what are you going to get? 12 games out of him every year? He doesn't play a full season, so we're kind of like a lateral move, in my opinion. But you got to build the trenches for Aaron Rodgers. Again, like I said with Lamar Jackson, he's the franchise. The window is closing, like it or not, and you've got to protect the franchise. You've got to get him time to throw. He's got time to throw. He makes time to throw. Doesn't always make the right decision or go through all of his reads, it seems like. But some bookend tackles again or some help wouldn't be a bad idea. Corner, kind of the same thing. You're looking at Tramon Williams. He may get dealt at the draft or after. We'll see what his role is post-draft. But we're going to need some help there. Kevin King, second rounder. He's got like a year left on his rookie deal, I believe. And at times he flashes. He looks like a lockdown. And then other times he just whiffs and gives up the big play. So I think a corner there would help the depth and push the current talent. And going back to offense, can we get back to the tight end game? That would be
awesome.
Man, it would be great to go back to the tight end game with Jermichael Finley. Remember those days? That was just killer. So Jimmy Graham will be in Chicago. We'll get to see him twice a year. Besides that, where are we looking, right? We've got Mercedes Lewis back to run block for the team and protect. I would like to see more design plays for him in the red zone. If you go back to, remember that London game when the Jags absolutely ran the Ravens out of the building in the UK, and Lewis was on fire, catching everything. He had a monster game. To see him get in the red zone and make plays the way he did, that would be great if the Packers could do that. Let's try that for this season. Behind him, you got Sternberger. A lot of people want to see him take the next step. I think he can, but they've really got to implement him and get him more involved in the offense. And then Robert Tonyan, he's always a guy that flashes in the preseason, right? I go up and see him at camp in the mini camps, and he looks like a beast. Like, he's killing it. And then the season starts, and you got your binoculars going, where is this guy, right? So maybe he can come on the scene. That would be pretty nice, too. Either way, the Packers were to take a tight end in the draft. The draft class for tight ends isn't really the greatest, but there's some unique kind of talent there, whether you want speed, whether you want prototypical size, whether you want guys that can run block, guys that can just shoot down the seam. There's a few different intriguing options there. When those guys are going to get picked, and even don't forget Thaddeus Moss, right? You want the bloodlines, you can get Randy Moss's kid. How nice would it be? As a Packer fan, there's a lot of people that used to want to be giving up the farm. We'll trade anything. We'll give you whatever you want for Randy Moss. Remember those days? Brett Favre said, I could use a Randy Moss on the offense. And man, I wanted it. Lots of people wanted it. So to have a Moss on the Packers, how cool would that be? So that would be an intriguing pick. I'd like to see that. You never know what could happen there. But either way, Eric DeCosta and Brian Gutekunst are two GMs that found themselves on a similar path and picking up in kind of the same exact spot for their respective teams. And I always find both of them very interesting to see the way they run drafts, to see their NFL mind, GM mind, And I think they're the two best GMs in the league. There's a lot of them. I'm not saying they're the only two, but for my two teams, yeah, without a doubt, they're tops in my book. So that will wrap up this quick cast for today. Just want to give you a quick one, fan perspective on the two teams that I like the most there. Anything that you guys want to hear, talk about, post up that I didn't talk about, or thoughts on the draft and what the teams will do, post it up on Twitter, let me know, tag me, and let's conversate. Until then.
Yeah, all right, this press conference is over.
Go away.
No, it's over, pal.
Police,
it's over.